Notion is organized into different workspaces on this left side vertical navigation bar. When you first sign up, you'll see a general workspace section and a private section. As a single account holder, these are just the same thing, but if you work at a company and you start adding other members, the stuff in workspace will be accessible by everyone in the organization, whereas stuff in the private area is only visible to you. Let's get started by making a simple to-do list in our private workspace. We get started by clicking Add a Page. This will generate a blank page like this. We'll give this page the title To-Do List. I personally also like to add an emoji to all of my pages. So for this page, I'll select Empty with Icon, and then I'll search for an appropriate emoji. You can see this page now appears in the private section. Let's now go and make our to-do list. One of the many powerful features of Notion is that the way you interact with it is by using commands to add what they call blocks. If I hit the / on my keyboard, you will see a list of blocks appear. There are basic blocks like text, headings, and bulleted lists, and more advanced stuff like databases, which we'll be covering soon. This is totally different from how you interact with a traditional word processor like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, where you add elements from different navigation menus. This method of using commands may seem a bit weird to start, but once you get the hang of it, it is so much more efficient because you don't need to spend time faffing around searching for what you need in different menus. Let's go ahead and add our first block, a heading. I'll start by typing heading and you'll see it will filter the relevant blocks and I click the one I want. We'll title our heading Today's Tasks. Let's now add our different to-do list tasks for today. We hit enter to go on the next line, and / again to start typing to do and select the to-do list block. We can then go ahead and list our first to-do item, and we can add to this list by simply hitting enter, just like you would add bullet points on a Google or Word doc. Once I complete a task during the day, I can either tick it off like this, which will put a strike through it, or I can just delete it. Let's now look at some more advanced applications, and we'll do this in the context of you working with a team of people. Even if you plan on using Notion for personal use, stick with me because what I'll be building will still 100% be applicable for other cases in your life. In the main workspace, let's create an account management workspace, which could be the central area used by an accounts team. Like before, we'll title this page and give it an appropriate emoji. Now, unlike our to-do list, in this workspace, there will likely be a lot more you want to have. Maybe things like email templates, CRM, team meeting minutes, employee rosters, etc. Therefore, we are going to treat this first page as an index that will have many subpages. Let's first add some structure by adding titles for the different sections of the account management workspace. We'll add the headings Meetings, CRM, and Documentation. I also like to apply a background color to my headings to make them pop a bit more. Under these headings, let's add our subpages. Like always, we hit / on our keyboard and use the command to find page. This will create a new blank page which we will title Weekly Meetings and give an appropriate emoji. You can see at the top of this page, as well as on the left navigation bar, where it lives in the hierarchy of pages. You could now use this page to keep track of any meeting minutes between team members, and a good way to do this would be by using a toggle for each week's meeting, or you can even create a new page for each week's meeting. Now that we've covered the basics and know our way around, let's step it up a notch. We're going to build a basic CRM, customer relationship management system, using Notion's powerful database blocks. We'll make a new page where the entire page is a table. You can also make inline tables that are embedded within a page, but I'm selecting a full page as I want the table to be as big as possible so I can see the many columns I will have. We'll give our table, which as I mentioned is also the page, a title Accounts and select an emoji. As you can see, we've been given a simple table scaffold which we will now customize. For the sake of this example, let's pretend we work in the accounts department of a company that leases out serviced offices on an annual contract. In the first column, we'll rename the title of the top row to be the company name that is leasing the office from us. In the next few columns, we'll add contact information of the point of contact from this company. Now, unlike a traditional spreadsheet like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets, we can define columns with different properties. You can see here the different property types. Organizing data inputs using these properties makes our tables extremely dynamic, and we'll see soon how powerful this is when we switch between views. We'll add our contact's name using the text property. We'll then add their email using the email property, and their contact number using the phone property. In the next column, we'll add the contract start date using the date property. And in the next column, we'll add the contract end date, which will just be 1 year later. Just to show you as well, I could also be smart about this and use Notion's formulas to automatically add a year on, just like I would in a spreadsheet. Next, I'll add the annual rent the company is paying as a number property. I'll then add the person in my team who is responsible for managing this account with the person property. As it is just me on this Notion account, I will select myself, but if you had other team members, you could select them. And then finally, we can add the status of this account by using the select property, which is kind of like a tag. We'll add the following tags into our status column: in contract, renewal in progress, awaiting payment, or churned. As you can see, these tags are auto-saved. So for any other companies I add, I can just select one of these tags instead of creating them each time. You can also customize the background color of these tags to something a bit more standardized, like red for awaiting for payment. To keep this video concise, I've gone ahead and added a few other companies in. Now that our table is complete, let's explore two super cool features. Firstly, for each company, you can open a subpage where you can add further details like any notes. The second cool feature is that you can now dynamically switch this same presentation of data to other views. You can see if we click Add a View, several view options appear. The value of each of these views totally depends on your use case. In our example, a calendar view filtered by the contract end date is very helpful. This could be used by our account managers to see each month when a contract is due to expire, so they know ahead of time when to reach out to renew the lease. A board view is also very useful when grouped by the status, so we can see at a glance the stage of each of our different accounts. If a company who was in contract is now going through a renewal, we can move this card to that status, and this will also update the status column if we switch back to our table view. We can also customize the properties we want to see on each of our cards. Another useful thing you can do is apply filters. So for example, I could add a filter and just see the status of any high-value contracts, say above $20,000. The final view I'd like to show you is the timeline, where we can view each company by contract start and end date. While this view is possibly not the most useful for this example, you can imagine how powerful this view would be for a project management task, visualizing many stages of the project running at different times and having any details easily accessible within each of these stages. Just some final notes. Firstly, you can reposition elements on your pages and play with the design so it appeals to you. For example, I could make this into a column. Secondly, Notion has pre-designed page templates you can use which are categorized by different use cases. I personally like building my own, but you may prefer using a template or even just getting inspiration from these. Finally, if you do add team members, you can share specific workspaces just with them, and this will introduce a third section on the left navigation menu called Shared that will look like this.